Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. Hey, before we get started and I introduce our guests, I just want to say thank you to our newest sponsor, Emergo Academy. Dave and Susan Kinney has actually been my coaches for a couple years. These guys are incredible. What I love about Emergo Academy is they are all about the brain first approach. So really, they sit down with a lot of people who are battling addiction and they really don't even talk about the addiction. They actually get in the head by asking certain questions that help that individual figure their own stuff out, which is really, really cool because all of us know it's not the addiction. The addiction is just the band-aid. All we're trying to do is numb ourselves from something that's happened in our past, whether it's a trauma, an accident, a divorce, or whatever it may be, a loss of a child, a loss of a spouse. There's so many things that life throw at us. However, when you learn the skills that Dave and Susan teach, it really helps you with your life. And I know this firsthand because I have taken the 8-week course. These guys are amazing. They are always there. If you have questions, they're one of the coaches, the only coaches that I know, and I'm sure there's others out there, but I don't know them, but they are willing to answer any question that you have without charging you anything. I know a lot of coaches that I talked to in the past, anytime you called them, there was always a charge, kind of like going to a therapist, but these guys, they're always there for you. So even if you don't battle with addiction or you have some kind of crisis or trauma in your life, guys, check out Emergo Academy, emergoacademy.com. It'll change your life because it's definitely changed mine with everything that I've done through this year, with the loss of a leg, a loss of my wife 4 weeks later. Man, if it wasn't for the tools that I learned from these guys, I could have went off the deep end. So again, the Other Side of Addiction podcast wants to thank Emergo Academy, Dave and Susan Kenny. Thank you guys so much. Guys, I'm excited for this show today. I met Mallory, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. She reached out to me. We met, we had coffee, we sat down, we got to know a little bit more about each other or one another. But, today we're going to be talking about leaving a legacy. And I really like this title. And hopefully I'll get a chance to even talk about it a little bit as we go through the show. But Mallory, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. You look very lovely this morning. So thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you to Al for having me on the show. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. So, I learned a little bit about you in your past when we had coffee. Gosh, I think we sat for a little over an hour and chatted, maybe
Yeah,
even 2 hours. I don't know, man. The time goes by so quick.
yeah.
But and I read your bio and you really had a really cool upbringing. I mean, you got to do a lot of cool stuff. So,
Really did. Yeah.
is that really the legacy that you wanted to leave, or did your legacy start coming later in life after you had accomplished and then other things happened in your life?
Oh, definitely. I didn't want to leave a legacy until after I think I fell and my addiction occurred. And I realized that growing up in Utah, I I was I had such a great upbringing, but I was very sheltered. I was very sheltered in the Christian community where I didn't really realize the other side of the bell where addiction, like I didn't know anything about addiction. I didn't know that people could be addicts. I knew nothing about drugs. I knew nothing about, the other side of this veil that people don't really see. And when I was finally introduced to that, I said, that's it. I've got to do something about this. I can't just sit back and watch this go on in my community. I mean, I ran into people that I've known in high school, that I've known for years, that were really struggling with crazy things. And I always ask them, I'm like, why didn't you reach out to me? Why didn't you tell me in high school that you were going through this? And they're like, Mallory, you wouldn't have hung out with me in high school. And I didn't know what to tell you. My, I was in foster homes all growing up through high school and this and that. And I felt so dumb not realizing that there's a whole other side to our community that we don't really even talk about anymore. And so I decided from that day on, I really wanted to do something to not only bring awareness to our community, but I wanted to do something that was impactful as well. And that's how I wanted to leave my legacy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing where the outside world really doesn't know what is actually happening out there, right? Happening because they have the blinders on. I mean, I was one, I'm guilty of it. And I've said this on the show many, many times. I'd drive downtown and I'd see the unsheltered and I'd see the addicts down there and make my little comments, why don't you get your shit together? There's plenty of jobs out there. And, I'm throwing out all this shit, which
Oh
I
yeah.
did not understand, and then, of course, I battled with an 8-year cocaine and alcohol addiction there for a long time, 8 years of it. And then, of course, my spouse fell into it. And it wasn't until then when I really started understanding, and it wasn't even until I started this podcast and started having people come on the show and started hearing their stories. And I was like, oh my freaking hell, I had this totally wrong. I was looking at it again through a whole nother lens.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And in our community, it's very easy to be judgmental and to look away and to not see things and not want to take on other people's problems. But it's definitely a problem in our community. It's a problem around the world, and it's definitely something that we need to talk about more and we need to pay more attention to. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I can actually see from, you live in Utah, or yeah, Utah County, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's like when we hit the point of the mountain and drop down on the other side. It's almost like, and a lot of people don't understand it who are not from here, who have not been raised here, but it's like a whole nother world over there.
Oh yeah.
Mindset is totally different than what we are over here. It's like black and white. So
It really is. Yeah.
I've interviewed a lot of people from Utah County. I have friends from Utah County, and literally, like you said, the blinders are on. People are just like, nope, they just don't want to pay attention to it. And what's really sad are a lot of those people who have those blinders on, it's going on in their own family.
Oh, every family, I think, knows somebody or somebody in their family suffers from addiction. I personally think that everybody has an addiction, whether it's food, whether it's, online gaming, whether, it doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol, but everybody exhibits some type of an addiction in their life. And it's just it's growing so fast and it's getting so big in our community and it's getting more, and I'm glad that we're getting more attention to it. I am. Like, we're recently coming out with more things, and I think Utah has the most rated, like, closeted abuse addicts. We have the most rehab centers. We have the most everything here, and it's something we kind of brush underneath the rug, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. So, when you decided to leave that legacy to get back to that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you had some of your battles as well, right? However, again, it seems like many of us we have that aha moment, to where we're just like, wait a minute, this is not where I wanted my life to go. And like you said, you start talking to friends and you start hearing what their struggles are and things. And if it wasn't for individuals who have clawed and fought their way out of their addiction to now put their hand out and say, I understand, I know what you're going through. What can I do to help you? And I like to put it this way, and some people may agree, some people may not. I really don't care, really, in all honesty, but I like to look at them as they are like Jesus's angels. They're the new disciples out there spreading the word of hope and love and letting people know, hey, it is possible, no matter what it is that you're going through, to live a different life.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And if you want, I'll tell you a little bit about my background if you want me to start there. Um, I was raised here in Utah County, and I had a wonderful family, a wonderful upbringing, and I was raised in a very Christian household. And that was fine. And I'm so glad that I had that upbringing. It really taught me values, and it really taught me a lot of things that I use still today. But I think that there's this stigma on always having to be perfect, always having to do the right things, always having to be the right person or look a certain way. And that was really difficult for me, having to be perfect all the time. And when I was very rebellious, I was really rebellious as a kid. I was the type of kid that I needed to find out for myself. I needed to find, if someone told me not to do something, I was like, well, then I'm doing it. Absolutely. Um, so when I was 17, I left my parents' house and I moved out, and it was like a whole new world. I mean, I didn't realize how hard you had to work. I didn't realize how difficult it was being on your own. And I did okay for a little while, and um, I did the whole get married and try to live the perfect picture life type of a thing. And then um, a few years into my marriage, my husband became a very bad alcoholic, and he became a very abusive. And that in return made me drink even more. I would drink to put up with the abuse, and then I would leave and get in my car and I'd drive to, if the abuse ever got so bad. If it got really bad, I would get in my car and my lot and drive. So I was a really awesome, amazing professional ballroom dancer that went to BYU, and I got 3 DUIs in 1 month. So I go from here to here in just 1 month. And I went to jail, and I know some people say that they hated jail, but I absolutely loved jail. Like, to me,
Hey,
I, I loved jail because, like, it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes to things I never knew about. I had no idea this was going on in our community. I saw people in there that I grew up with and had no idea that they were struggling. I had no, like, it was just, and then I felt so selfish and inconsiderate that I never took the time to notice that this was actually going on in my backyard. And that's the day that I decided I had to do something about this. And long story short, I got out and I met Blue, who was in charge of Addicts to Athletes, and um, thought that was a great program. And then I offered to help one day because all I know how to do is ballroom dance. And I just started teaching a ballroom dance class, and people loved it. And then my charity foundation kind of took off from there. So I just decided that I was going to teach ballroom dance to recovering addicts or abused women or anybody really. It didn't matter who you were. I was just going to teach free ballroom dance classes once a week to help out the community, because that's the only way I knew how to give back. And it just kind of took off from there. And it was one of my favorite things that I've ever done, was giving back like that. And then, you know, life happens, ups and downs. I decided to get married again. And when I found out that I couldn't conceive children, and when I found out that I couldn't conceive children, that was it for me. I had no like reason for living anymore. I became a very, very severe alcoholic. I went through liver failure. They gave me 2 days to live. And then after I lived past that 2 days, they gave me a month. And then after I lived past that, 2 months, and then a year. And luckily, I was like, no, I'm not going to accept that this is how I'm going out. And I said, no, absolutely not. And luckily, that was, I think, 8 years ago now. And I've lived past that and have no signs of cirrhosis or anything like that. But it got really, really bad. And then just feeling like you had no purpose. And I want to clarify that for a lot of addicts, because I've been in a lot of treatments and I've got to know a lot of addicts. Finding your purpose is really crucial in your recovery. And that's one thing that I know that a lot of addicts struggle with. And so we need to try to be there for each other more. We need to have more support. We need to have more family support. We need to have people that love you unconditionally, no matter what, and always have your back. But let's see. I rushed and got married. I met a gentleman and got married after 2 weeks to be put on his insurance because I was like, I can't have kids, so I have to hurry and do IVF. So I met a guy and he was willing to put me on his insurance, and he was like, let's do this IVF thing. And I'm like, okay. And I got married out of fear and out of, panic, and married this guy and not knowing him very well at all. And then being married to him after 8 months, I could tell that he had a lot of anger issues. And finally, when I was trying to leave that situation, he was happy. It was the day that he was packing to leave my house that he decided that if he couldn't have me, nobody else could. And so then he decided to knock my face in and put 5 fractures in my face and knock out all my front teeth. And so after that, I was like, there is no point for me to live anymore. There's no point of anything anymore. I was scared of everything and everyone. I didn't leave my house for about a year, and I drank every single day. And to be honest with you, in a way, in a way, I used that. I used that as an excuse to continue my addiction. Have you ever done that? Like where something bad happens to you and you're like, okay, well, then I have an excuse to drink. I have an excuse, for other people to feel bad for me.
Yeah.
And that was just a ridiculous mindset, but that's the mindset that you're in. You're like, oh, now I can continue drinking and nobody can say anything about it, because now I have that excuse, which is just
I have
stupid.
a good reason, right? I have a good reason to do it.
Have you experienced that?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I did every weekend for 8 years, right?
oh
My
yeah.
excuse was, man, I worked my ass off all week. I'm stressed. I'm ready to pull my hair out. So this is my reason to unwind. Here it comes, and I said that to myself every single weekend for 8 years. That was my reason.
Oh yeah. And I'm not excusing people that have had like actual trauma and actual bad things that have happened to them, because I think that we've all experienced trauma in our life, whether it's being in a car accident or whether it's, you know, even simple things like that. We can experience trauma from it. And, but I remember just being so scared of everything and everyone. I literally didn't leave my house. My sister came and stayed with me for a while just to make sure that I was alive, because I would just drink until I passed out, drink until I passed out. And then finally, I decided I need to get some help. Started to get some help, but nothing really stuck. And I would go good. I had 3 DUIs, got went a stent where like I didn't drink and do anything for like 5 years, then got 2 DUIs in 2 months, then went on like another 5 years stint of being good, and then got another DUI. Like it's just, you don't even realize what you're doing when you are drinking. You don't, or when you're in that condition. And so finally, it got to a point where it was just enough is enough. You finally reach your breaking point. Like you said earlier, I think every addict reaches a point where you're done, and like you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I mean, I've hurt everybody in my life. I've hurt my friends. I've hurt my family so much. I mean, my drunk calls alone, like the good thing about being an alcoholic though is that you don't remember the things done. So thank God for that. But my whole family remembers and my friends remember, which really sucks, and it's a process trying to learn. I mean, win their trust back and try to show them that you're doing good and doing good things in your life. And so that's a little bit of my story. And then what I'm doing now is I've taken my charity foundation where I was just teaching ballroom dance, and now I want to take it and I want to turn it into a resource center slash business slash rehab slash healing center. Like we haven't really decided what we're going to do with that yet, but that should be coming in the next year or so, because we have some great investors. We have a lot of people that are interested in it, and we should be doing that. And that's kind of back to like leaving my legacy. I went through a very hard life. I struggled very, very much, but I chose that life. I chose to live in that life and stay in that life. And it I'm now at a point in my life where I not only want to live a different life, I want to give back to our community, and I want people to recognize, and I want more attention to come to what is actually going on in our community, and that we need more help. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have to agree with you on that. We definitely need more help. I think the tables in the 4 years, little over 4 years that I've been in this arena, I feel like this past year I've started noticing a little bit of a shift. Just a little bit of a shift where I think more people are starting to open their eyes a little bit more. And I don't know if it's because of all the work everyone is doing out there, because there's a ton of people doing amazing things, using their voice, sharing their message. They're really getting out there. They're hitting the state capitol, they're hitting every place they could possibly think of. It could be a part of that. And also, it could be because we are losing so many people due to this fentanyl crisis that is happening, right? It could be a combination of both, to where now people are all of a sudden starting to open their eyes just a little bit more, going, we really have an issue here, because we're losing way, way too many good people. And some people may disagree, right? People like myself who used to be on the outside going, how can you say they're good people? They don't have a job. They've lost their family. All they do is drugs, blah, blah, blah again. But that's not who they are as the individual. That's the drug or the alcohol that's got a hold of them, right? The real them is still inside. It's just that they've buried it so deep, they don't know how to uncover it. So I think this little bit of that shift is starting to come. And there are a lot of people like yourself, Mallory, who have this dream, or have this vision of doing different things. I mean, there is literally a shift that is happening. There's new ways of recovery now. It's not just the AA and the Cocaine Anonymous and all this other stuff. Things are starting to shift with the help of science, where they're starting to understand the brain a lot more, and they're figuring things out. And I mean, I've not really read the whole big book at all. And I've read bits and pieces of it. And I really do need to read the whole thing. I mean, seriously, I do, because it just doesn't help people who are battling addiction. It really helps with life. It does with a lot of things. However, there are a lot of different ways that people can recover now. Some people disagree with it. Other people are okay with it. Again, it's just that shift, right? It doesn't matter to me which way anyone goes, as long as they accomplish their goal, and that's to get clean and sober.
Oh,
And
literally, like nowadays, like I don't want to share too much, but the center that I'm going to be opening up, we literally have technology now where you can sit in a box and this box will heal you. Like, I mean, they have machines now that deal with addiction. They have machines that are, it's just, I don't want to give out too much, but it's insane. Like, our technology is crazy now.
yeah. Well, and I'm getting ready to take a training, and I don't want to share too much either, but I'm getting ready to start taking a training. It's a long training, a lot of hours with it. But again, it's about freeing individuals, right? And it's working. It's been proven. I mean, they've got the science behind it. There's a person in Provo who's been doing it, and the results they are getting is phenomenal. And we're not talking just drugs and alcohol. We're talking people who really have mental issues, who have huge, huge traumas, which a lot of times that leads to addiction. It's helping people in so many different ways. And it's the same, they're doing the same process with all of them.
Yeah.
And it's freeing them, right? It's freeing them. It's going, because and I don't know, I could be looking at this the wrong way, totally the wrong way. However, I could go back and look at myself with my 8 year battle with alcohol and cocaine and go, I am always going to live in that trauma of, if something major happens, I could fall back into this, right? I was tested this year by losing my leg. I was tested 4 weeks later by losing my wife, right? It could have pushed me to that. Even the training that I have taken has helped me to use this to overpower what my thoughts were that would have taken me to that, to where I'm going, man, can I get myself completely free of all that? And I mean completely free of it to where I don't even think of that for the, I mean, I had somebody interview, I had my coach interview me on my own show. And he said, when you heard that you could lose your leg, what was your first thought? It's like, man, as soon as I get out of this hospital, I'm going to start finding out where I can make some calls and find out where I could get some shit because I'm freaking,
Oh yeah.
I just want to, I can't deal with it, right? I could lose my leg. I need to snort some Coke. I got to drink some alcohol. But I only thought of that for a short period of time, which I was so proud of myself for that because the old me, that's exactly what I would have went and done because I wouldn't be able without my training, without what I've learned and learning how to control this instead of this controlling me. I was able to pull myself away from that. And I think that's so cool. So none of us have to constantly live in that fear. And that's what it's about, right? Not saying that we're free enough that, okay, we can go do a line every once in a while and we're going to be great. No, that's not what I'm saying, right? I'm saying that it frees us to where we don't even think about it anymore. I mean, what a great way to live, right?
Oh yeah. And honestly, like addiction is a side effect from what the real issues are. Like someone told me that, and I thought that was one of the greatest things. Like they never are suffering from addiction. Addiction is a side effect. We got to get to the core issues. We got to get to the real issues of what's really going on. And just like me, like when I found I couldn't have kids, I ran off, got married, like ran off and like it just panic. You just panic and you don't know what to do with your life. But it does. I think one of the scariest things that someone told me in treatment was that I asked them, I'm like, does this ever get better? Like, why am I not getting it? Why is it not clicking? Why, like, does this ever get better? Is just how I'm going to be forever? And they said to me, they were like, Mallory, this is going to be something that you have to work on every day. This is something that's going to, you know, it's going to be for the rest of your life. And I think with that mindset and mentality, a lot of people get stuck there, you know, but it does get better. You know, you can be happy again. You can, you know, find happiness in the normal things in life. And it's just like you were saying, it gets to the point where you might have that little thought, like you know, what you were saying, but it does get better. And then it gets to the point where you're not thinking about it every day and you're really just wanting to improve your life and be a better person.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
I'm at.
Well, and good for you for getting to that point, right? Because it is an uphill battle. That's for sure. And
Oh, yeah.
life itself is an uphill battle.
It was not like a, you know, a little stint of my life. Took me 15, 20 years of dealing with this. And it's just, it makes my heart just goes out to everybody out there. And I wish that I could just take everybody into my home and, you know, into my arms and just tell them that they are loved and they are accepted. And we all know the struggle. You know, even if your problem is not addiction, like we all have our problems, we all have our struggles, and we really just need to start being there for each other more. Absolutely.
Yeah, a larger support group. I mean, again, yeah, because we are all battling through something, you know. I don't know if it was Eckhart Tolle or some other person, or gosh, no, it was actually Robin Williams. He made the comment many times that, you know, um, the person standing in front of you, you don't know what's going on in their life. You know, they could be telling off the person that's checking out their groceries or somebody at the gas station or flip somebody off and try running them off the road in traffic, you know, and you really don't know what's happening in their life to get them to that point. Because I know when I was in my rage of stuff, I mean, I battled anger issues for a lot of years up till my mid 20s, and then I went through 6 months of therapy to learn how to deal with with that, you know. And it was just like what you said earlier. You know, we live a life and we're grown up or we're brought up a certain way, and that's just how we think that's how it's supposed to go. It's not no fault of our parents because they just copied off of what their parents did, and their parents copied off of their parents, right? It's no fault of anybody, but sometimes we just got to go through that stuff to really open our eyes and realize, man, life is totally different. I interviewed a gentleman who, quite a few people who have been in the gangs. And this gentleman grew up in the gangs in California, in LA. And from just as a time as a little boy, he remembers all the way of being 3, 4, 5 years of age, just seeing how things was handled and how you as a man, once you went to prison, you were a man. And he just thought that's how life was. And then one day something happened and it started opening his eyes. And he actually ended up going to a treatment center called Delancey Street at that time in California. And he started realizing, my gosh, this isn't how life's supposed to be lived. But again, it wasn't no fault of his. It's just where he was at. Right. And something that you said earlier, Mallory, that reminded me of a post that I did a couple months ago. And I don't think any of us could get to where we are at today without going through that darkness. We have to go through that darkness. Even if we just see a little teeny sliver of light ahead of us and it looks so far away, if we are still willing and we still have the drive and the want to continue to go towards it, no matter, sometimes it may look like it's not even getting closer, it's getting further away, but that's our journey, right? We got to find our way through that darkness to get to that light before we can literally, I like to say, God puts us through the same things over and over and over till we learn the lesson. And I think once we learn the lesson, that's when we hit the light.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. It's amazing, like the people that I've met in recovery. The people that you think, like, you hear their stories and you think there is absolutely no hope. There's no, like, I don't even blame the people, like, ask why haven't they used drugs sooner, because of some of the stuff that they've gone through. And like being in jail, I honestly think is one of the most spiritual places that I've ever been in. Actually, that's another reason why I like it. It's everybody's at their rock bottom. Everybody, and I love hearing the stories with the girls and making them laugh and trying to be that beacon of light and hope for them. But when you're in jail and you are at your bottom and you have nothing to look forward to, there is, like you said, everybody's holding on to that hope and that light. And it's really what helps you get through everything. And it, I think that through my addiction, I have become so much closer to my God and my Heavenly Father spiritually. And it's just, I've met the most phenomenal people that are addicts. I've met doctors, I've met lawyers, I've met, just business people that, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, addiction will come for all of us.
Yeah, it doesn't discriminate, does it?
It, it, it's just crazy. But holding on to that hope and really being a part of the community is something huge for us. It's really huge for us. Getting the word out and being a part of the community is one of the lifesavers that will help us all. Absolutely. But I think now, after my good friend Colt, Brooke Restaurant's brother, that brought a lot of awareness lately into our community, especially where we're at in Utah County. He was a good friend of mine, and I'm very sad to lose him. I've lost so many friends to addiction, and it's to the point where I'm glad that we're finally doing something about it and the word's getting out a lot more. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I tip my hat off to you, Mallory, too, for wanting to figure out a way, right, to open up a facility, and a lot of people have done it. I've talked to some friends who I've met through the recovery community who now have opened up sober livings and different things, right? And some of them have done things differently from what, I don't know, I don't like the word normal, but however the majority of them are ran, and they're doing things differently. So again, there is a shift that's happening. However, that's why I say that they're the angels, right? Because they're out there, they're coming up with different ways they're thinking because they do have that love for other individuals. It's like we're losing too many, and let's see what we can do to make a change. And so many new things are starting to pop up, and there's ideas that people are starting to come up with that's going, the old way has saved a lot of people, thousands, if not millions of people around the world. However, there's something that's different. Let's see if we can increase it, right? Because I have an issue when I see on recovery places that, and I won't mention names because it doesn't do any good, but when I see that they have a 10 to maybe 25% success rate, in my eyes, that's a failure.
Yeah.
Being below a 75% or even an 80% is a failure, because that means the majority of the people that walk in there are failing. They're right back in the same place. We got to turn those numbers around somehow, some way. So, and I think people are starting to see it, right? It's some of it's not working. And I'm not saying that they're not doing their best. I do feel that there are those out there that are only there for this. They're not there for the individual that walks in their door. However, we got to change those numbers around. And there are a few facilities here in the valley that are a lot higher. They're, I don't know what, probably around a 60, maybe 75, 80%. They do it a totally different way. It's working.
Good.
However, what about those other 20% that go through that program doesn't work? What program can we find that does work for them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think the statistics are like the average person goes through rehab, I think 7 times before they finally, like, it finally clicks to them. And it just, when I heard that number, that blew my mind. It's like, wow, we're going to be in this forever, And I'm just so glad that there's new things that are happening and new people are coming out of the woodworks from everywhere, admitting that they have an addiction. It's no longer this frowned upon thing, where that means they're bad or that means they're not good. It's like, oh, okay, you know, what can we do for you? How
Yeah.
can we do for you? How can I show up for you? And it's just, I'm so glad that we're getting the recognition that we absolutely need. And that's what I hope to do. I want to open a resource center, healing center that's going to be open to the public. And it's really going to focus on the key. I've done a lot of research. I've done a lot of on different rehab facilities and what's working and what's not working. And I'm really hoping to bring the key ingredients that work and put that all in one place. And there are so many resources out there. I mean, if you are struggling with addiction and you don't know where to go or what to do, there are so many resources. You can reach out to me. You can reach out. I mean, I think there's a number, like a 411 number that you can call that just has so many resources. And so we're hoping to put that all together in one place so people have a place to go and then have a direction on where they should be going from there. And the steps, we want to show them step by step how they can get there. So I'm really excited about the things that are coming up. It's still going to be a long process. Getting your approval for this kind of stuff with the state takes quite a while, but I'm really excited. And you're doing great things, Al. And when I met you, I was just like, I need to meet this man because you're just a phenomenal inspiration to me. And so lucky that I got to meet you. So happy that I got to meet you. And you do your summit every year, right? Correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for your kind words. Yeah, we've got our summit that's coming up here in about 4 weeks. I mean,
4 weeks?
it's yeah,
Wow.
it's getting really, really close. And again, it's really good people coming and sharing their story, right? Using their voice. And it's really cool when you have people come up after an event that say thank you. So and so's message today just really hit home for me, right? It's just like doing these shows. These shows are the same way. Here and there, every once in a great while, I get people who watch a show and then send me a message. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to take a Tums here. I'm trying to get some heartburn. They just say, "Hey, your guest said this on the show, and it just really resonated with me. And again, that's what it's all about, right? Is using our voice and using what we've learned. And how cool would it be to have a place that you're talking about, right? Where I guess you could almost say it's a one size fits all, to where someone can walk in and go, okay, they go through a certain thing and you're like, oh man, no, I just don't feel it, right? This ain't for me. Oh, okay. Tell me why. And we learn a little bit more about them and go, oh, wait a minute, let's walk through this door. And it's right there, right? We don't have to send them anywhere else. It's right there to where we can go, hey, let's give this a shot, so
Absolutely. I heard it. This is what made me get the idea is that I heard in jail that when you don't have anybody there to pick you up or, someone to come and get you, because there's not a lot of family or friend support with those people. And it breaks my heart. It really does. But if you have no one to pick you up, they will just drop you off at the Health and Justice Building in Provo, which is right across the street from one of the biggest hotel, drug spots in Provo. That's notorious for, that. And same thing within Salt Lake. They let you out on the streets where it's right next to the park that everybody does their drugs. And it's like, that's what got me the idea to begin with, is that I want to be able that when you leave a jail or something, you get sent to this resource center and you can find housing, food, how to get back on your feet. I mean, there's so many resources that I wish we could just put all together in one building. And I'm talking to my board of directors here soon, and we're going to try to figure out how to collaborate all those people and just get them all together. So like what you said, like a one-stop shop. And I'm just really excited about it. And I just want to help as many people as we can. And mentor support as well. Like if you're an addict, one of the best ways to get sober and stay sober is to help other addicts, is to teach. And that's why like in the AA community, it's really important to get a sponsor, and it's really good to, get a sponsor, get a coach, or get to that point where you can go back and help other people. And that's for me is one of the greatest gifts that has kept me sober. Absolutely.
yeah.
And I mean, I'm just excited about to the point when I get to like 10 years sober. And how many years do you have? What was it, Al?
I don't even really even freaking know anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, in 2009 is when I woke up, and I did have my moments here and there where I still used. However, for me, I looked at it in a different way, and it just worked for me to where I didn't want to count. I,
Good.
I didn't want to count. I didn't want to, I don't know. I mean, you want to be proud of yourself, right? But I didn't want to pat myself on the back. And the reason why is because at any time that could break. So
No,
for me, it's just go on with my life, just move on, move forward, just keep going. And a lot of people have sobriety dates. I can't even tell you. I have no freaking clue because I could go before I went a certain amount of time, and then all of a sudden it's like I find myself, nope, right back there again. Luckily, it's like getting bucked off a horse. I didn't stay on the ground. I got myself back up. I got back up on the horse again. And then however long it was again, next thing I know, I'm on the ground again. So I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just gonna go. I had a guest that said something to me almost 4 years ago, and he was going to commit suicide. He was getting ready to commit suicide. And he said a prayer, and he battled with porn addiction.
oh, so
And he just was struggling with it. I mean, he battled with it from the age of 13, and now, 2 decades, and he's just 20 years of it, and he's struggling and getting ready to commit suicide. He says a prayer before he gets ready to jump off this bridge. And he heard this voice and says, "Why are you not celebrating the days you didn't?" Because they use the same terms, right? The day you didn't use. They use the same terms as all of us do with addiction, drugs and alcohol. And he said he stopped himself and he started going, I'm beating myself up and shaming myself for the days that I slipped instead of celebrating for the days that I didn't.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and I got goosebumps over here on this side because that resonated with me so much to where it's like I did not want to go, okay, I have 90 days. Oh, nope, I'm back at one. Okay, I have 30 days. Nope, I'm right back at one again. I wanted to add the days that I didn't.
Yeah, celebrate the days. Yeah,
And even though there was that gap, to me, it wasn't restarting again. It was that maybe I fell in a mud puddle or a shithole there for a minute, but I got myself out. So that was my way of just doing it. And that's been my way of looking at it. Just I don't want it in my life, right? That's why I'm taking the training that I'm taking and kind of going into a long story of you asking me how long it's been for me, but this is why I'm explaining it because to me, I don't want to even look back at who I was at that time in my life and how I lived my life. I would rather just go, this is who I am today and forget about that.
absolutely. I totally get that. 100%. And I love how you mentioned getting back up and, you know, getting back up and doing it again, getting back up and doing it again. And um, like I know that you wanted to name this the ballroom dancer, and that has a lot. It reminds me a lot of what you said. Is like when you fall, you get back up. It's not about how many times you fall down. There's going to be relapses, and I don't know how many times I've built myself up from the very bottom. I've lost everything that I've had and had to build myself up. I more times than I can count. I think, but it's all about how you get back up. It's all about how you do that, and it's just trying to be a better person every day, celebrating gifts every day, celebrating I made it through another day and I didn't scream at anybody or I didn't have a freak out or something like that. Like, you got to celebrate the little wins. And ever since that I got sober, I've just, I feel like I've been winning every day. I've met the most incredible people. I got to meet you. And it's just like people come into your life at the right time to really progress and really to help you and make things better. And I'm just so happy and so glad that I got to meet you and I got to meet, the whole recovery crew. Like there's a whole world and a whole team out there. And it's like we're all rooting for each other and we've all got each other's back. It's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like to throw this out there because you did say it, and I just want to let people know, be careful telling yourself that you will relapse, right? Go in it with the mind that you're not.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause if you go in with the mind that, hey, they told me I'm going to relapse, it's just part of it, you're going to give yourself that reason to go, I'm going to use again, right? So do your best to just say, hey, it's possible, but I'm going to be one that doesn't happen to. And if it does happen by chance, again, like you just talked about, get back up. We just keep going, and the ballroom dance, it reminds me of something. I think it was a movie that I saw, Mallory, where this lady, all she wanted to be was a professional ballerina. And from a little girl all the way up to her adulthood, and she finally had a chance to be on one of the biggest stages in New York. And I think this was based off of a true story, but there was just a certain few little tweaks that she was really battling with, right? They loved how she danced. She was very, very good. But there was certain things that you probably know when you get to that area, that you get to that professionalism, there's certain fine tunes that you have to do.
Yeah.
And I
Technique.
remember the video showing her getting up on her toes and doing these turns and doing that. And they're like, no, that's not right. This is how you do it. She'd do it again. No, that's not right. And I remember it got to the point to where it was just showing her, and you could see the blood soaking through her slippers or dance shoes, however you want to say it. And
Yeah.
I'm going, holy shit. And she just kept pushing through it and just kept pushing through it. And you could see and she was in agony and so much freaking pain, but she wanted it. She freaking wanted it that bad. And that's how it is when it comes to those who are battling addiction. Again, it doesn't matter what that addiction is. If you want it bad enough, you got to keep that mindset that you're going to get there. You're going to work your way through that dark. You're going to find that light. And you may trip and fall. You may not. There are a few that have done it. But as long as you want it bad enough, you're going to get there. And then when you get there, you're going to go, holy shit, that freaking journey was worth it. It was amazing, right? I made it harder than it really needed to be.
Oh yeah, I remember even when I was dancing, I was there. I would my shoes would be soaked in blood because we were dancing too much, but we wanted it that badly. And it's just when I put that like when I put that to addiction, I think of like how hard we try to stay in our addiction. And like we try to make excuses and stay in that mindset. But if we want something bad enough, it's like we've got to fight for it. We've really got to fight for it. And we got to fight to save her. And it's sad that we have to learn how to fight for our lives because that's really what it is. Like when I see somebody that has really bad addiction, I I ask myself this with everybody. It's like, why are you trying to end your life? And that's really what it comes down to with most of the addicts that I've worked with. They just don't care about their lives and they don't care about living anymore. And so once you get to that root of the issue, like most addicts don't care if they wake up or they live or die. And it's really sad that we have to try to convince our addicts to save their own lives. And I just have seen so many people like get fall down and get back up, fall down and get back up. And it's just the strength. I honestly think addicts are stronger than anybody that I know. Anybody I know, they're better salespeople than anybody I know. They literally have the ability to like sleep on the streets and like get themselves out of hard situations. It's phenomenal. I think the talent that addicts have is just phenomenal, and so it's just going to be great. I It's just going to be great. Us helping the community, us realizing, talking about it, and getting back up, getting out there to these people. But like you said, it's really a phenomenal thing when you get back up. It's
Yeah.
really because I see people every day putting on a good show about how perfect their life is. Everybody puts on this show that I'm happy, I'm lucky, and I'm just doing all these great things. You never, people don't want to share their vulnerable sides. They don't want to share what's really going on. And it's, I'm glad that people are finally, let's get out there and let's talk about this. Let's do this and let's help each other and move forward. So it's just an exciting time, I think. And I hope that this podcast, I hope this, me sharing my story really helps other people as well. I'm trying to think of like the best things that I can say that I just want to shake people and, put it in them. But really it's just, you have to want it for yourself. You have to do that sweat and that blood. You got to put in the effort and it's hard work, but it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. People who have nonprofit or they have a book or whatever it is that they do, I always like to give them that opportunity at the end of the show too, to let people know where they can find you. So you've talked about your nonprofit throughout the show. How do people find you, Mallory?
Well, they can find me on Mallory Jane Patton. That's really like my Mallory Jane Patton. You look at me on Instagram, on Facebook, and then Dope to Dance is my charity foundation. So Dope, the number two, dance. And then I'm building my website right now, and so you'll be able to find me there. But I'll post that, and you guys can see that. But you can really find me. I'm open to always, hearing your stories and meeting new people. I love doing that. So Mallory Jane Patton for right now to find me on any of the platforms.
Okay, and you said your website is Dope to Dance
Dope to Dance. Yep, Dope to Dance.
at dopetodance.com.
Yes, it will be. Yeah,
Okay.
not
Uh,
up yet, but that's what it will be. I've
oh,
already
okay. So you don't want me to post it on the comments? Not yet, then?
not yet.
Okay.
Not
Okay. I will do that. Thank you for letting me know because I would have done that. All
yet.
right.
Dope to Dance page on Facebook and things like that, but
Yeah.
that's the main thing.
Okay. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Well, Mallory, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to be on the show and and share your vision and the legacy, right? I think a lot of us do want to leave a legacy. Back in 2009, when I lost my 24-year career, I had somebody call me up and say, you were known around the shop as a liar and a manipulator. And it's crazy because my ego back in those days was extremely high. And I did tell them they're full of shit, but I really got thinking about it and I realized, my gosh, they're right. That's exactly who I am. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to drop my ego a little bit and listen to it because, you know, it helped me because somebody was honest with me. It helped me to get to where I'm at today in my life, as we talked about the name of the show, leaving a legacy. Now that I'm a papa to three beautiful, amazing grandkids, at least I know where I'm at in my life today. If God takes me today or he takes me tomorrow, that my grandkids will have people come up to them and go, your papa was a great man, you know,
Oh,
somebody that we could trust, somebody that had integrity and accountability. And that's the legacy I want to leave, right? It's not necessarily my name. It's just leaving that to where I knew that I have touched somebody's lives in one way or another, and that legacy gets passed down to my grandkids because that keeps it burning.
oh, that's what it's all about. Like, even if we can save one person, like that's what it's all about. And I try to do that. I try to leave a legacy in every way that I can. Even
Yeah.
if, I'm trying to be remembered for good. I'm sure that I am going to be remembered for some pretty dumb stuff too. But at least there's
Well,
a legacy, right?
yeah. Well, there are those that will that they will hold our darkness as close to them as possible the rest of their lives, right?
Oh yeah.
There will be, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's out of our control. And if that's how they want to see it, then I like to put it as, well, then God is just telling me they're not meant to be in my life.
Either way, I be remembered, right? We'll be
Yeah.
remembered.
I'm still remembered. Some may not be in a good way. Let's make the majority in a good way, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much
Well,
for your show, Al. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And you're such a great energy, great person. I'm so happy to be on your show.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you for being on the show and being vulnerable and opening up, right? Because I know it's not easy. It's really not easy. I get a lot of guests that come on and they're really, really nervous at the start because they are opening up. They're sharing a part of them that that they're ashamed of, or maybe not ashamed anymore, but somebody that they know that they're not. So it takes a lot for anybody to come on a show and open up and say, hey, this was how my life was. This is who I was as an individual. However, that journey put me here because I'm not the same person I was last week. I've grown even more.
Yeah, I tried very carefully. I tried to be very careful about what I said. My sister said, "Don't embarrass us." Very, very careful of not sharing too much.
Yeah, well, I think you did an amazing job. And again, thank you, Mallory.
Right.
All right. Hey guys, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all our past guests, to our future guests, and thank you again to Mallory and a huge, huge thank you to our sponsor, our newest sponsor, Emergo Academy. Guys, I'm serious. Even if you don't want to be trained to be a crisis and recovery coach, take the training because it will help with your everyday life. It has definitely helped me in so many different ways. So I just want to give a huge shout out and a huge thank you to Dave and Susan Kenny with Emergo Academy. That's emergoacademy.com. We're going to leave you with this as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.